listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney, in 3, 2, 1.
What's happening, everybody? BT Unleashed. All right, so school is in session, and today the student out of the chute is my guy, J-Rod. J-Rod, what's happening? I got a quick pop quiz for you.
All right, I'm ready.
Now, did you like pop quizzes when you were in school?
You know what? I feel like I always ended up doing pretty well on the pop quiz because I feel like the pop quiz, they always let it be a little easier than like the regular quiz. So I feel like I always did all right on them.
Oh, God, I started sweating when I would hear, one of the nuns say, all right, boys and girls, you got pop quiz. I'd start getting nervous. All right, because I probably wasn't ready. All right, so there's no right or wrong answer for this particular pop quiz, right? And this will lead to our conversation for the first topic. By the way, the show's going to be a little shorter today. I know I mentioned yesterday, probably the day before as well. I've got to get out of here. I've got a big speaking engagement with Verizon. So I got to suit up. I got to shower, suit up, and I got to get out to the Verizon headquarters, which I can't wait to do. It's going to be phenomenal. So it's going to be a little shorter than usual. All right there, Mr. Jared, Mr. J-Rod. The question is this on the pop quiz. If I say to you, Jared, what are the 3 built-in inherent advantages that the NFL seems to enjoy over the other sports? So the 3 things that they have going for them, really without even trying, okay, that's just kind of naturally fits their sport. A little residue of luck here. Let's take you through the thought process. Let's get to a three-part answer, 3 things. No order, no right or wrong. Yeah. What are you thinking here, buddy?
So I think the first one is definitely their position as an American league. I think that inherently just gives you, an American fan base built in to your sport.
Interesting.
So I guess a strong national pride tied to your sport would be one of my answers.
Okay, I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm going to actually circle back to that because that's a very interesting answer. But go ahead.
I'd say the spacing out of nationally televised games, I think it allows for a high audience, sort of watch per each product you watch. NBA, they have 82 games.
Yep.
It's spaced out. You're not going to have as many fans engaging with each game. And fewer games, more people engaging.
You got one more for us here?
All right, let's see.
That's a good one. I'm going to get back to both of those. I think that last one is absolutely on my list, and that's the greater point here. But do you have one more for us? I'm putting you on the spot. When I tell you, you're going to probably say, "Oh, how did I not think of that?" But give me one more guess. I want to see if you can come up with it. What do you got?
All right.
Domestically, it fits with America, and there's an element of scarcity because it's not every day. So, okay, go ahead. Good start.
All right, third one. Let me try to conjure something.
Let's get nervous. This is when Hey, by the way, this is when I start looking over somebody's shoulder trying to get an answer in school. What do they got?
That's kind of the mode I'm in right now. But okay, let me give it a shot. I guess the marketability of the actual game of the sport itself, just because it kind of sets itself apart with the physicality and the nature of the sport.
Okay, so if I was to condense that, would you say violence is appealing?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I'd say it's the only violent sport that really presides within your common watching space other than UFC or boxing.
Yes.
Sport. So
rather than the one-on-one combat sports. Great answers. So you passed. I don't know if you got an A, but you absolutely passed here. Now, before I actually get into my list, and again, the bigger issue here. So the first thing that you said, I almost think that is a bit of a disadvantage because when you talk about like the domestic success and how it plays in America and all that stuff, and you contrast that to say like the NBA, where there's great European influence, which obviously has led to the globalization of the game, whether it's a Luka, whether it's a Joker out there in Denver. Even not that the NHL is nearly as popular as the NFL, but it's obviously got a cross set. Canada's represented, obviously Europe as well. Baseball, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Japan's influence now. That was an interesting first answer. Let me give you, and again, no right or wrong. Let me give you my 3 very succinctly. Number 1, gambling. Number 2, violence. And number 3, scarcity. Okay. So having said those are things that you can't really necessarily create. It's not like those are born out of some amazing vision by former commissioners or the current commissioner. they kind of just got lucky, like circumstantially, the way the game is set up. We love violence. We love controlled violence, but we love violence, right? And we love to gamble. And I don't think there's a more enjoyable sport to gamble on than football. Now, I've gambled on everything, not nearly as much as I used to, and always responsibly. And I had, full disclosure, a great, lengthy, multi-year relationship with FanDuel, going back to my days at WFAN, right? So to me, when you're going to sit down and gamble, to gamble on a baseball game, over, under, first couple of innings, -1.5 run line. Yeah, I'm not saying that you can't win. I'm saying in terms of enjoyment, to me, it doesn't strike me as the same. If you want to bet the over in the NBA, that's fun because there's a lot of points. You want to bet the over in hockey, 4.5, 5.5 goals, whatever it might be. But the day-to-day gambling, whether it's fantasy football, or just over-unders or round robins or reverses or anything else that you want to bet on with the NFL, I think it's a built-in mechanism that makes the NFL inherently and profitable and inherently appealing. So as I give you my short list here, again, the violence, the gambling, and the scarcity. Do me a favor, pop that up there. The Barrett Media. I know Schefter had this first. I want to give some love to my guys over at Barrett Media. They always take care of us, and they always take care of me. So this report came out yesterday. Keep this up for a little bit, J-Ron. The NFL is reportedly considering Thanksgiving Eve game as soon as this coming season. So if implemented, the additional contest would take place on November 25, 2026, and would represent another step in the NFL's broader effort to stretch its schedule across more days of the week. Now, you can take it down. Thank you, Jared. So you think about those three things. It's less violent than it used to be, and partly out of necessity. I want to be fair to the NFL. Concussions, head trauma, all that stuff. And you want to keep your quarterbacks healthy. You want to keep your skill position guys healthy. So late hits over the middle toward a receiver, whatever. I get that. The world's changed. There's more information. Going back to the concussion movie years ago with Will Smith, right? And the more we probe medically, the more we understand that obviously, brain trauma is irreversible and it's a real thing. So while it's been softened a bit, violence, it's still violent. You're still getting hard hits, and that's a good thing, right? The gambling has not changed. But what I just read to you right there is just a massive illumination of, number one, how greedy the NFL is. That goes without saying. But I think more specifically, how little they care about you. So when you think about the word scarcity, the reason why the NFL, one of the reasons is a monster, is because you can rev up, right? You rev up. Now, I don't mean like the national games, but your team plays once a week. Sometimes if they play a Sunday night or a Sunday, and then Thursday, it's like twice within a week. But for the most part, it's once a week, right? And what happens with that? There's an incredible amount of energy that you can exert and direct to the product, because when you do that, the food, the gambling, the jerseys, the tailgate, having people over watching the Jets or the Giants or the Niners and the Raiders and all these teams, all these different vibrant fan bases. And I've got something on the fan bases a little bit. There was a study that was released that I find very interesting that we'll get into. But the built-in advantage with that is that you basically play once a week. So you exert all this energy, but then the average fan is able to regenerate. And the way it really goes, and this has been my entire career and primarily spent in New York, although I've obviously done a lot of national work, and I was in San Francisco for a minute doing afternoon drive. So it was all Niners and Raiders, right? But you have a game on Sunday at 1, generally on the air on Friday. And even really Thursdays and Wednesday, you kind of turn the page, coaches talk, you get the press conferences, the injury reports and all that stuff. And then the new week starts on Thursday with the Thursday night game. But specific to your team, you are riled up and you are foaming at the mouth, especially if you have a good team. Now, obviously, there's an element of apathy that's going to creep in all these years watching the Jets and, the Giants, who now have Harbaugh, or the Raiders before Brady got there. And, of course, Mendoza is going to be the first overall pick. But there are bad teams, and even a fan base like the Browns, who are great, there's an element, they won't admit this, and you won't necessarily see this on social media, but with the bad teams, even with football, the monster, there's a little, apathy that sets in when all you do is lose. It's just hard to conjure up that emotion, that unless it's just contrived emotion, or you want to sit around and have 10 beers and bet $2,000 that you don't have. It's when you don't watch and root for a good team, it's a little harder. But in large part, Thursday and Friday, you're getting ready for Sunday. And then what you do on Monday is you react to Sunday. and then maybe there's a quarterback controversy, or a coach begins to enter the sphere of being on the hot seat, and now that kind of seeps into the Tuesday conversation. And then by Wednesday, because we're resilient sports fans, we start rolling up the sleeves, we hear the coach speak, and we start getting ready for the next game. So when you're talking about violence, gambling, and scarcity, those are things that no other sport in America has. And the NFL, once again, is telling you that they don't give a rat's behind about you. Because I don't know about you. Now, when I was growing up, we basically always had Thanksgiving, right? It was almost always at my mom, sometimes at my aunt's in Brooklyn, but it was always at my mom and dad's house in Brooklyn. Now that I'm married and my wife is from Texas, we go to Dallas every single Thanksgiving. Now, sometimes my wife will fly out with the kids on a Tuesday, and then I'll join them on Wednesday, or a couple times because of work. I've had some St. John's games, some tournaments over the year. Maybe I'll fly in on Thursday morning, whatever. I'm not even really talking about me. But if you think about the largest travel day of the year, which is obviously Thanksgiving, the NFL, and it's not like, will they do it? It's when will they do it? And it looks like they'll do it coming up this year, just like they did on Black Friday. They just continuously interrupt the family values. And I'm not trying to sound holier than thou, but I got to be honest with you. As much as I love football, even like if the Jets are ever really good again, right? Do I really want to be distracted with a Jets game on Thanksgiving? And they've had a couple. I've gone to a couple. I went to the one, whatever it was, 2010, something like that, at MetLife against the Bengals on Thanksgiving night. Now, that was different. No kids. As a matter of fact, that was really different because I remember I was up in – this is a unique side story. I was up in Bristol, Connecticut. This is when I was working with ESPN 1050, and – Colin Cowherd, big star, obviously, with Fox for a long time, FS1. Well, he was one of the big stars at ESPN, as many of you probably remember. And he was taking off for a couple of days, and I was doing my local stuff on 1050, Don and K, that station, right? A couple of years after I was working with Stephen A. And they said, hey, would you like to come up to Bristol and host for Colin? So that would have been on Wednesday before and Thursday. 100% in. Great opportunity, which also speaks to the young broadcasters out there being hungry and not just saying, well, it's Thanksgiving. No. Yep, I'll be there. What time you need me? What's the accommodation? So I remember they put me up in and my wife and I in this, we weren't even married yet. We were engaged in a extended stay hotel. And it was great. And I remember Thursday, we actually, because I did the show with Colin, and we ate Thanksgiving at McDonald's on the way. That's actually sad and equally amazing. And we were driving back from Bristol, Connecticut into New Jersey because we lived in Hoboken at the time to go to the game. Now, that didn't really impact me. No kids. It was a great work opportunity, not even yet married. But the dynamics then compared to now are very different. And they're very different for many of you. So I don't want to say I don't understand why they keep doing this, because I clearly do. Because they're greedy slobs. That's all they are. That's all the NFL is. They don't care about you. They don't care about you at all. Think about the ticket prices and the PSLs. I told the story, and I'm not going to get into it much now because it's a short one, but we went to the Jets-Browns game this past year. Went to 2 Jet games, right? My father-in-law's from Ohio, so they were playing the Browns, and I got tickets for all of us. They were in for their wedding anniversary, and I was able to do a solid, get good seats. We had access to the club, so even though it was raining, it was a great day. Jets won, couple of special teams returns. Family had a great time. I pull up. This is the Jets. We're not talking about the 49ers or the Dallas Cowboys. We're talking about the moribund Jets. And I pull into the parking lot, and the lady's like, that'll be $100, sir. $100 to park. Now, I'm not cheap, but I'm also not, independently wealthy. Now, I mean, I can obviously spare $100 like I did the tickets, but it's ridiculous how they bend you over as fans. You want to get a beer, $12, $16, whatever it is, hot dogs, $7, $8, PSLs, as I said, exorbitant ticket prices. Now, you can circumvent that on the secondary market. I understand it, but that's also a different mindset. The way I am is now, I think it would be different if it's just me, but like if I'm going to a game with my family, I don't want to be scurrying last second to okay, did I get the seats? I want to have the tickets in my phone digitally. And by the way, J-Rod, look at that. Look what we're starting to make here. You see that?
Sir.
How sick
is
that?
How'd you make that?
We got our ways. I got to get you one. but this will be available on the in the digital store as we open that. Hopefully by first pitch Major League season. The hats, the hoodies, the beanies, and all that stuff. But I just prefer to have everything planned out because I'm a planned out kind of a guy. Many of you, I know Evan does this a lot. Like he'll wait it out, and I respect it. I just don't want to do that. So you could get a deal on tickets at this point. But the ultimate point is that they just shove these games down your throat. There's a game Sunday night. There's a game Monday night. There's a game Thursday. There's a game Saturday as you get deeper in the season. Obviously, Sunday is basically from 1 o'clock until midnight if you watch all the games, right? And then now, all right, Thanksgiving, there's a tradition, the Cowboys, the Lions. I love that. And I've been to both of those. I went to the Cowboys game this year in Dallas, and I went to a Lions game when I was working in Detroit in the early 2000s. And if you could do that, I would recommend that you should. It's pretty cool. And then they added the third game, which is at night, which is fine because, you stuff your face, you have a couple of drinks. Grandpa falls asleep with his mouth open on the couch. Well, at least my grandfather used to. He would fall asleep, his mouth will be open, looking up at the sky. And it's there if you want it. And it's not. And if you don't want it, just, do it. Play games with the family, whatever. But it's just too much. And it's another reminder that they just don't care what you want. They don't care what you need. They don't care what you think. It's just football, 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 because somebody's willing to pay for it. Same with Black Friday and same with all the games in London, which I absolutely detest. I think it's ridiculous. And I'm not going to this is a different rant, and I'm not going to get into it too much now. I just can't because I've done it enough and it's exhausting and I can't replicate that. I can't feign emotion. But when I do get into this, like I'm not going to fake it. It drives me nuts because I've got inherently an issue with taking our sport and giving it to other countries. Now, some of you will say, oh, look at the loudmouth American, so territorial. That's right. I am territorial and I am American and it's our sport. It's nobody else's sport. Like, not that I would even want it, but do you see, other European sports, and I'm not talking about a soccer friendly, which is cool, giving us regular season games? I mean, so unless I'm wrong, is Liverpool instead of I don't know what they play in front of 100,000 people, whatever they might be. Imagine them taking a regular season game and again, if they have, then I stand corrected. I don't think they have. I know about the friendlies, but playing a game at Levi Stadium in San Francisco, regular season, not an exhibition, or AT&T in Dallas, or MetLife in front of 80 or 90,000 people, and depriving the home fan base one regular season game. Imagine that. Well, no, you don't, because it doesn't really happen, but it does happen in the NFL. And it started. Here's the thing. This is why it's only going to get worse and worse. And I love sports. Okay, I've made a good living so far doing sports, and I'm going to make a better living doing this, talking about sports. But I got to keep it real. And it's like you give them an inch, they're going to take 10 yards because it started out, just send the shitty Jaguars to London. Nobody cares. And you're right. Nobody did care because it's a little tiny, teeny piece of Florida. And I love Florida, no disrespect. And Duval, and I get it. They're good fans. But when they started sending them, they were wretched. So nobody really missed it, okay? Because you'd have empty seats in Jacksonville anyway. But it went from the Jaguars going to London to now the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, one of our most cherished American sporting properties. Now we're taking a game away from the Lambeau faithful and giving it to people in London. Why? To make money. And that's all this is about. So Thanksgiving Eve, when you're trying to sit around and you're trying to enjoy your family, it's going to be a little more complicated. Now, maybe you're lucky, all right? And I'm lucky in this sense. So my in-laws, they're all massive football fans, big, great sport fans. They understand the deal, so obviously we went to the Cowboys game this past year, but the Cowboys game, we might record it, we might eat, and then not know what's going on, and then boom, we jump into it, we catch up through the commercials, right? So that works for me. But my sister is the opposite, all right? My sister is the absolute, and she's amazing, but she's the absolute definition of a scholar. She is working on a second or maybe even a third degree currently at Oxford University. I mean, I don't know. I really, sometimes I question if we came from the same family. I've said that before. I know we do, and I know we did, and her room was 15 feet down the hall from mine, but like how she approaches academia compared to what I did, I mean, I was looking for every shortcut. She'd be a professional student if you let her, and I say that because I remember we got engaged, my wife and I, and we were living in Hoboken, and my sister had a nice place in Manhattan, right? And we didn't go to Dallas this particular year. So my sister made a great Thanksgiving, beautiful apartment. And I'm getting antsy. I'm like, and she doesn't like football. And she really didn't want to put the game on while we're eating. Meanwhile, my wife's a Cowboys fan, and the Cowboys are playing. I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on? So I say that, and we didn't really get to watch it the way we wanted to. I say that because there are some families that just don't want to interrupt the holiday for football. And I think it's even less important than it used to be. So, this is a problem. And it really bothers me. And I just feel compelled to stick up and stand up for many of you because you guys don't have the voice to do it. Now, the problem is there's no recourse. I could bark at the moon like Ozzy Osbourne. I could scream all day and night. Ain't going to change it. They're not going to they're not going to change their business model because BT Unleashed is unhappy. And they didn't change it when BT was unhappy with this on WFAN. So they're not going to change it. But it is just another reminder that they don't give a shit about you, and somebody's got to say it. And I'm not the only one, to be fair. I'm not. All right, what's up, BT? What's going on, Justin? How you doing, pal? Can't wait for the live show. Oh, you're driving in from Delaware. That is awesome, man. But you are from Long Island. So cool with me. That is great. Hey, let's slap it up there, J-Rod. See, if J-Rod was on point today, like he was yesterday, the BT and Sal promo page would have already splashed on. That a boy. Very nicely done. Even though we do look like a couple of, I don't know what we look like in that picture. We got to get a new picture. Carl Banks will be there. It's going to be phenomenal. April 2nd. It's at Mulcahy's. Awesome venue, Long Island. So that's where Sal's from. So Sal's people better step up and represent and make sure we sell this thing out. We got some more tickets to sell. Off to a good start. Plenty of seats available. Good size venue. Sold out the first one, April 2nd. And it's going to be awesome with Carl, because those of you who follow BT and Sal and certainly follow me, you understand what happened back in the day with Carl on WFAN. So it's a big coup for us to be able to come full circle, get Carl in, and symbolically let everybody know, all right, I got off the rails that day, but hey, we're going to break some bread, have a couple of drinks. Carl's a great guy. I've known him forever, as I've said. So that's coming up. Can't wait to see you. Drive safely from Delaware. I mean, am I wrong with anything that I just said? Like, was there not an ounce of truth in what was just said here? I just don't get it. I take that back. I'm sorry, Jake. I get it. I understand it. I just resist it. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I mean, you're telling the truth there, but like you said, nothing's gonna change. The conquest for greater money will never cease.
Yeah, you're right.
So, yeah.
It's sad. You nailed it. I mean, it's all about, stretching the dollar as far as you can, but like at what expense? All right, so you welcome in another part of the world, which is fine, but if you start to alienate, which I believe that they have for a while now, if you continue to alienate the core fan base that helped elevate your sport to the number one spot atop the sporting pecking order perch, well, then what are you doing? What are you doing? And it just drives me nuts. I really I just don't like it. I was thinking about this the other day, right? And some people, because I've kind of gotten into this, now this is new with Thanksgiving Eve, but like Black Friday and Christmas Day, and not the NBA, because the NBA, let me be clear about something. The NBA is a different watch, okay? You know what I'm saying, Jared? You love the NBA. That's your favorite sport.
I love the NBA, but it's a different watch where even if you're a diehard, all right, if you're like the biggest fan of all time, you're not going to miss a game. But even if you're like a diehard fan, you'll still probably end up catching 70 out of 82 games or something. Well,
yes. Oh, for sure.
You're not clamoring to watch Knicks versus Jazz like last
I watched
night.
some of that last night. Knicks gave up 41 points in the first quarter. I'll get to that in a little bit. They came back and won, so I can't crush them. But you see, my point is like, it's a different energy that you exert when you watch basketball. Same with baseball. The Yanks and the Mets and baseball, they're every night for me. The Knicks are there 82 times a year. I'm not a huge hockey fan, but, Rangers, Isles, Devils, every team, 82 games as well. And again, that's why I use the word scarcity pertaining to this conversation. It's a built-in advantage for the NFL. But when the NBA, even the Knicks, when the NBA is on Christmas Day, we do the whole tradition. Everybody's gotten the flannel pajamas and sipping around, having coffee and seeing what Santa brought, tearing through gifts. And then like my parents come over. I can watch the Knicks and be half dialed in. I really like it's a different level of urgency. And again, it's a different level of energy. Like if the Jets were good in December, and they're playing the Patriots, or they're playing the Bills, or they're playing Miami, or they're playing Mahomes and the Chiefs, or they're playing the Ravens and Lamar, and it's a game that matters, and it's the Jets, and it's Christmas, I got a problem. Because now I'm either going to have to disconnect myself from my family, which I really don't want to do, or I've got to disconnect myself from a game that matters, which I also really don't want to do.
Yeah. So
sucks,
man.
Sucks. And I was thinking, I don't know why I was thinking about this, but you keep that up. I'll get to it in a minute. I was thinking about this the other day. I think about very interesting things at very odd times.
Sure.
I don't know why this popped into my head. I'm coming down the stairs the other day. And, it's a flight where it comes down like maybe this from upstairs down to our main rooms. Maybe 10, maybe about 10 steps. Then it's got like a fairly big platform, right? Banister looking over the big room, the main room. And then it's got a platform. It's got about six or 10 more steps, right? And when I get to the platform, that's when I can see because it opens up and we've got high ceilings and the fireplace. And I just love it. I love to be able to look at that. Not that I do it every day, but as a source of pride, I'm very proud of what we built, because we built the home literally from the ground up, my wife and I, and we've earned it. And it's something that means a lot to us. Right. And I'm walking down the other day. I don't know where I was going, what I was doing, why I thought about this. And I never thought about it in these terms. Now, for all the young kids out there, of course, Santa comes and does his thing. We know that every year.
Of course.
And I was saying just to myself, didn't communicate. I don't even know if anybody was home. I'm like, wow, you really get about, if you really think about it, you really get about 5 or 6 Christmas mornings where Santa's front and center, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Without going, kids, without going too far, Jade. But let me just finish that thought, because when the child's born, yeah, mommy dresses him or her up in like the Santa suit, the reindeer head, antlers, whatever. But from the age of birth, 1, 2, they have no recollection of Santa coming or Christmas morning.
Yeah, no.
3, maybe you start watching, and we would watch it before too, but you start watching like the Grinch and you got the Christmas music. And I think that they sense that things are changing a little bit. And certainly at 4, they know that Santa's coming with gifts. And then 5, it's on, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then depending upon certain things with each family, whatever that we, that we'll just kind of gloss over here, you only really get about 5, 6 years where it's full throttle with the kids and Santa. And it goes fast. It's gone. And I say that, I'm not trying to be overly virtuous here, but I guess I'm just in protective mode here, where I'm trying to protect the sanctity of things that matter to American families. And the more, and the more that we and I love football, but the more we shove it down our throat on Christmas, on Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving's fine, but now Thanksgiving Eve, Black Friday, like it's just, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah, big time. I thought was funny there. This is BT Unleashed, but when it comes to Santa, we keep things under wraps.
That's right. Of course. 100%, man. What does Stephen Ayer have to say? BT got the boys coming over for the Johnnies at noon. Oh, a little day drinking, a little Johnnies. You're more than welcome, Allentown, PA. Well, I mean, if I was doing the St. John's game, I would actually be sitting at the Garden doing the game. Long story short, as I mentioned, I'm going to Verizon today, which I cannot wait. It's going to be a big room of executives, great people. I've had a long work relationship with Verizon. They've been very good to me. And I'm going to go motivationally, speak to their upper level management, et cetera. And I can't do the St. John's game today. This was booked two months in advance, or 2 months out. And it was supposed to be a day or two earlier than today. And then based on their schedule, which is fine, I totally get it. I totally respect it. They communicated to us. They said, hey, we've got a logistical issue. We need to push it back. And, it's a big commitment, one that I wouldn't bow out of. So I had to let St. John's know I can't do the game. Otherwise, I would have. I've done every Big East game for basically 20 years. So St. John's wins today if they do. And it's a rematch with Providence, with Bryce with Bryce and the whole fight. Yeah. So they're playing the Friars at noon. And then if they win today, I'll be there tomorrow doing the game with Mink. And then if they win tomorrow, I'll be back on Saturday calling the championship like I did last year when they won the Big East tournament. And then, of course, Selection Sunday, find out where we're going, and I'll travel with the team. And if they go to the Final Four, travel for a month, and I'll do all those games. And I'll bring you a lot of content along the way. So enjoy the St. John's watch party. It's going to be I would think it's going to be a pretty intense game, so that's cool. But no, I am not doing the game today. All right. Let's slap this up here. So I came across this, and I've seen many different variations of it, right? And you talk about the 3 bullet points of what makes the NFL the NFL, scarcity, the violence, and the gambling, 3 things a lot of other sports don't have. Well, and I just ask it out loud, and you guys could obviously text this. J-Rod, I want you to get involved as well. Just slap this up on the screen. I saw this yesterday. I'm like, yeah, this will be fun to kick around for a minute. The top 10 most loyal fan bases in the NFL. Now, I'd like to know what's the determining factor here. And how about my Jets? I mean, you got to at least love that. Hey, we're good at something. We don't bail. You guys suck. You give us nothing, but we're here for you. That's our mantra. You stink, but we're here. That we got to put that on T-shirts. You got the Eagles, Jets, the Browns, Buffalo, the Bengals, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Green Bay. You got the Cowboys. You get the Raiders. Keep this up because I want to go through a bunch of things here. So, J-Rod, and you can keep this up and speak over it. If I said to you, what are 2 or 3 things that you think would be behind this rating and these rankings? Like, what makes a great loyal fan base? Go ahead, hit me with something.
All right, great loyal fan base. I think obviously comes down to like the sports fervor of the city itself. And, Philly's got that. Obviously, New York's got that. What I see a lot on this list, this is my number 2, is like your team has faced some real trials and tribulations throughout the years. Like, that's the freaking Browns, Bills, everyone, pretty much everyone. I mean, Eagles, obviously, as of recent, they've been a little better. But like, all these teams have faced like serious downtrodden periods within recent memory. And so I guess something that calculates into it is like, have your fans stayed through the storm? Have they weathered the storm with you? And then 3rd, let's see.
No, I think you nailed it. I don't think we need a whole lot more than that. Now, listen, you could obviously quantify this in terms of merchandise sold and, the amount of empty seats versus the amount of sellouts and ticket sales. Like, there's a way to get a sense of from a numbers point of view to back this up a little bit. I think that this is, if I were to attack this largely perceptually, one pretty glaring omission to me, I think the Patriots should be on that list right there. I do. Now, I don't know who I would take out because Eagle fans are great. They're nuts. They've been rewarded. They've always been loyal. They own WIP. Like my former boss, Spike, at obviously at the Fan, who's now with WIP. He's told us, me and Sal, remember back in the day, we could talk Eagles all day. I remember, and they do, like even during the offseason. Like they'll talk Eagles. Put it this way, the Phillies could play the Braves or the Mets in a fairly big series. And if there's something, even if it's relatively benign, pertaining to the Eagles, they'll lead the show with Eagles. That doesn't happen in New York because of the placement of baseball, with the Yanks and the Mets. I mean, are the Jets I guess, thank you, may I have another? You keep coming back for more. That's got to constitute some loyalty for sure. The Browns, in large part, the same identity and tortured past of the Jets. I think Bills fans are great. I think, Bengals might be a little high. I've seen a lot of empty seats along the way. It's a nice looking stadium too. I would probably swap out, no disrespect, Cincinnati or Ohio. I would probably either drop the Bengals seriously or just whack them from the list and put the Pats somewhere in there. The Steelers are a combination of tradition and current passion. The Lions, similar to the Jets. Lions are more like the Eagles because they've now, even though last year was disappointing, they've turned the corner. They've won a little bit. They've got a nice new, well, not new, but they've got a great stadium. Packer fans should be higher, I would think. And then the last 2, I've got no problem with Dallas and the Raiders being on there. But of all these teams, the Steelers would fall into this as well. That's also more of a national template. Like the Eagles is largely regional. Like this, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't any transplants around the country, but geez, it's not like you've got these fervent Jet fans walking around California. I mean, it's the lunatics in the Northeast, in New Jersey and New York, right? And the Jets should be on this list. The Browns are more regional. The Bills, I think, are completely regional. Maybe changed a little bit with Josh Allen, who I love, and you have a great quarterback. That's awesome. Where are the Chiefs? I mean, the more I think about this, I said the Pats. I would get rid of the Bengals, and I would put the Pats and the Chiefs. I've got to get rid of one more. Geez, God. I mean, who am I? I think the Bengals is the easiest one. Who's the other team? Because listen,
I mean, all right. Well, my thing, maybe their fans aren't not the most loyal, but I just think this team has had the most fair weather fans just due to like back in the day, also team logo. Like I think the Dallas Cowboys, like you meet dudes from Boston who are like Cowboys fans just randomly.
yes,
So that would be my other. That would probably be my other choice, but not on the fact that they're not loyal, just the fact that they have a lot of just like random fans.
Yep, that's true. I mean, of all you can take it down in a second. Of all these teams, there's really only, let's see, Raiders, Cowboys, Packers. That's certainly 3. Steelers 4. I think there's only really 4 teams. I don't mean with national appeal. Like when the Eagles are on, you're going to get a good number. When the Bills are on with Josh, you'll get a good number. But I think there's 4 teams on the list that kind of cut through, any state boundaries or any geographical boundaries as well. All right, you could get that off. This was an interesting one. I wanted to get this question up there. How do we get that up? All right, where's my guy Avery Summit? BT, what's going on? You've got vast sports knowledge. Thank you. I appreciate that. But how much more difficult was it doing a local drive time show in San Francisco discussing teams you weren't a fan of versus a New York show discussing the teams that you are a fan of? That's a really good question. I'll take you behind the curtain a little bit here. So I was at 1050 ESPN radio for almost 10 and a half years, right? And when that ended, and it was kind of mutual, I was there, like I thought that I should be doing a more what else is new, a more prominent show. And listen, it was a great relationship. They treated me well. I was on Outside the Lines a lot. I was on Cold Pizza. Got to do the Knicks because of ESPN. Love for ESPN, right? But it kind of run its course at that point. A lot of different bosses, a lot of different PDs, a lot of volatility. So whatever. So after 10 and a half years, I was out. And, WFAN didn't need me because WFAN at that point was still an absolute monster. I mean, they're still a monster, but it was the old FAN and there was no spots. I mean, Joe was there. Mike was there. I mean, it was just different. So I think was that Boomer and Carton in the morning? I think it was, which was a great monster of a show. And I remember I was oddly excited. Avery, I'm going to answer your question in a little bit of a long-winded way, but I think you guys will enjoy it. I was oddly excited, even though I had just gotten engaged, had a pretty expensive apartment, just bought an engagement ring, like made some big life purchases really for the first time in my life. And I also had a TV show in New York, which was on SNY, The Wheelhouse, which I did for about 7 or 8 years. Now, that wasn't enough to pay for everything. It was a nice supplement, but the main income was $10.50. It was good money. And I remember even with that fear of a change in terms of economically for me, I was excited to see like, all right, you're in your mid-30s or whatever I was at that point. And let's see if anybody else values you the way you think maybe ESPN at that point should have valued you. And I was curious and I was excited. I really wasn't nervous at all. Maybe naive at that point. I just wasn't nervous. And I really wasn't nervous this time either. So maybe I just don't get nervous. I believe in myself, which I do. Anyway, I remember getting 2 phone calls right away. One was from San Francisco, Jason Barrett Media, shout out, one of the great minds in the business. He used to be a program director, brilliant mind and a great guy. He reached out right away. They were launching, because KNBR is the big station out west in California, the Giants, the Niners, the Warriors, absolute flamethrower, WFAN of the West when you cross the Mississippi. Monster, right? And they were launching an FM station that was going to be the home of the A's and the Raiders. And, the ratings would be different. And it was a lot of work. But I'm like, that's kind of appealing. FM stick, when the FM stick was just getting popular. The contract was a good, healthy offer. It was for drive time, which I had never done yet at that point. Hadn't done afternoon drive yet. It was with a former football player, Eric Davis. That was one offer. And the other offer was at WIP in Philadelphia. And there was talk, I'm not going to mention names, whatever, that I could do afternoon drive there. Now, and I didn't know who it was going to be with. I never got that far. I had conversations with them, but I never got quite that far. Anyway, at that point, Mark Chernoff, who was running WFAN, legend, good guy, legend, quirky, but a really good guy. Still sends me a text on my birthday and Merry Christmas. Really good man and he's a legend of the business. I remember talking to him, and WIP owned by the same company. All right. So I remember him saying, hey, this could be a really good move for you, because I leaned out. I wanted to get some wisdom. I want to get some advice. And he said, if you go there and do the afternoons, I could carve out some time on the weekends on WFAN. And I always want to be on the Fan, as you guys know. It was very appealing. I'm like, afternoon drive, Philly, top 5 market, good money, great exposure, great vibrant city, awesome sports fans. And I could do shows on the weekend on WFAN, my hometown station. I think I got to do this. But what I ultimately, and now I'm going to answer this, Avery. I don't think any of you guys know that story, so I figured you might enjoy it. Don't let it bore you. What I remember thinking at that point in my life, because I was a little scarred by the way ESPN ended, even though I've got love for them. I remember saying to myself, if I go down to Philly and I'm immersed in the day-to-day, the Eagles and the Sixers and the Phillies and Villanova and the Flyers, right? And I'm also doing work on the weekends on the Fan, am I going to be as deeply immersed in the Philadelphia sports scene if in the middle of the week the wheels are churning for 3 or 4 hours, maybe Saturday and Sunday on the Fan, talking about stuff that's maybe more personal to me? And I really thought about that. And I'm like, I don't know if it's the best move for me at that point in my life, because I was just worried, because the pressure in Philly, and I wasn't afraid of that, but I thought maybe the distraction of trying to juggle 2 things, especially, again, my hometown station, it might not be best for work. Like, am I going to always constantly be looking back at WFAN when I'm on in Philly? So I turned it down, right? And I pivoted to San Francisco quickly. So to answer that, Avery, at the end of the day, and I really mean this, and I think it comes out now, because I don't just talk about the Yanks and the Mets. I talk about the Jets a lot, and I got something on Geno that Pete Carroll said that I'm going to get to in a minute. But I just love sports, and I love communicating. To me, there's nothing that I would rather do, and I'm not talking about family stuff. Come on. But there's nothing that gets me, as excited and as engaged and like as fulfilled as communicating. I love the art of communication. I love the challenges. I love that rush, that feeling when you drive home like a rant, and you can't do a rant every day, but when you really, it's like maybe 35, 40 seconds of fury, of fire, and every syllable's on point, that it's like you're just pulling words from space and they're coming into your mind. There's not a single stumble, and everything is money. And then bang, that last punctuation. Like that, to me, for what I do for a living, is equivalent to barreling up a baseball and hitting a 3-run bomb at Yankee Stadium and hearing 45,000 people cheer for me. Like that motivates me. That's my professional fuel. So it really was easy in the sense that, number one, it's a beautiful city, and we had just gotten engaged. So it was a really good chance for my wife and I to just say, all right, you know what? You're from Texas. I'm from New York. Let's go together and start our life in San Francisco. And I remember we went to our second wedding anniversary. We were in Sonoma, which was crazy. We biked over the Golden Gate Bridge. We went to, obviously, all the other vineyards. We went to Warrior games and sat courtside, and, went to the old Candlestick before they blew it up. And we were there when Levi opened as well, Levi Stadium. Went to Candlestick. We lived around the corner from where the Giants play, Was that 3rd and King, I think if I remember correctly, right along the Embarcadero. It was a beautiful lifestyle. And like the Niners were coming up. They just hired Harbaugh. The Warriors were just starting. Mark Jackson was there. One of my childhood favorites. David Lee was on the team, who I knew really well. So I used to interview him a lot when I was doing the Knicks stuff. So it was kind of easy. And then obviously football's got a national imprint. And so it really wasn't that hard. Now, I would carve out time on my own to, watch the Jets and watch Yankee playoff games, but it wasn't that difficult. It really was. It was very fulfilling. It was a great professional challenge. And, it showed me, I don't know that I needed this proof or this evidence internally, but I think to myself, unknowingly, it reinforced that it doesn't really matter where I am or what teams I'm talking about. I'm going to do a good job, and I'm going to bring it. It's definitely a different market in terms of I'm not saying there weren't any nuts calling up, like on the Fan, just screaming and yelling. You get a little bit of that, but a little different. It was really good. So hopefully that answered your question, Avery. It's quite the long way to answer a question here. What else we got here? Any other? I want to get to the Geno thing in a moment. I want to maybe read something else here. What do we got? Let's see. Okay. Let's get DP-971. What up, DP? Do people even watch weeknight games If it's my team, I might watch the first half. But if it's on too late, if you work earlier on the East Coast, even baseball games that start after 8 or by the way, that's the other thing. The living and working out west. I mean, you got the NFL starting at 10 a.m. And you've got, I've always been a big fan because growing up, there was no football teams where I'm from in New York City. So I always gravitated to the Big Ten. You know, watch the Buckeyes, watch Wisconsin, watch Michigan for football, not basketball. It's always Big East with basketball. And a lot of those games are noon tips. So this is young BT getting all those bets in, and these games start at 9 o'clock. I mean, I'm just waking up because it's probably out the night before because there was no responsibility, no kids. And, just lazily lay on the couch and, have 5 games going. And it's wild, man. Even like whether it was golf, U.S. Open, or the Open Championship, which would be even earlier out there. No, it was pretty cool. And the other thing, too, that I really enjoyed about living out there is that I got to get a little bit more immersed in the college football culture because, so think about this. So we were there 2 years, and then I was hired back to come to New York to do the national stuff for 10 years with Tiki, CBS Sports Radio, right? And when we were there, they were you can't even call it a refurbishment. Like, it was basically an overhaul of Memorial Stadium where Cal football plays, right? The Cal band, great tradition, Aaron Rodgers, etc. And they played for one of the 2 years where the Giants play. So they were playing on a baseball field. I saw USC roll in. I saw Utah roll in. Like, it was just so different, man. And then I got to go to the new stadium, and they actually played Chip Kelly's Oregon team, and we had pretty good seats. But I just remember watching the wave of substitutions and just how Oregon's offense operated with a different purview. It wasn't on TV. It was amazing. And then when I went to Stanford for the first time, J-Rod, how sick is this? I went to Stanford and I saw Andrew Luck play collegiately.
No way.
Yeah, I did.
That's sick.
And I got to tailgate there. And matter of fact, that game, I think it was against you. I think it was against UCLA. I'm sure you can find this on YouTube. Andrew Luck made a reception. It was like some sort of flip, and he ran a route. He made like a one-handed reception that was where he dotted his 1 foot sprawling out of bounds. I believe it was if you watch it on TV, to the right of the screen, maybe 15, 20 yards downfield. And then he was drafted first overall. So it was a very vibrant scene. It was very enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. Andrew Luck and then do you want to talk about a different tailgate scene? So imagine tailgating in Berkeley, just walking around Berkeley.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm sure it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
In many ways.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one big smoke fest. It's Partyville. And matter of fact, my wife and I forget, I think it was somebody that she worked with, passed away from breast cancer, if I recall. And this is a long time ago. I never knew this young woman, unfortunately, but they had a breast cancer awareness walk through Cal's campus. Gorgeous. Like, you look at the topography, like, listen, I'm a New York guy. I love it. But there's a lot of things about New York that are gross. And I don't mean when you get upstate. Upstate's beautiful. The city's absolutely revolting at this point. It smells like piss. It smells like weed. There's garbage everywhere. People are flocking away. They're leaving. New York City's disgusting. I love it, and I could say that, but it's gross, right? Subways are gross. But the topography of that part of the country, I remember fishing. I haven't talked a lot of fishing. We'll get into that over time on the show here. Okay. I remember fishing right and dropping line and staring at Alcatraz, like literally 150 yards away from Alcatraz, catching sturgeon the size of my desk. It was cool.
Holy.
Yeah, dude. I caught a leopard shark, and I've never even heard of that, nor have I ever seen one. Do me a favor. Can you pop up a quick Google image of a leopard shark? I remember finding
I've seen
one.
A pic of them before.
They were big.
They
were. I mean, not like a great white big or like, a bull shark or something really dangerous. But it just seemed. It didn't seem very threatening because the captain. I remember the captain saying, "I watch your hands," but it wasn't that big a deal. I remember even catching a lot of halibut, like just probably 20, 25-pound halibuts, just like stuff you would catch in Alaska. It was absolutely awesome. Did you find a picture of a leopard shark?
Yeah, I got a picture. I'm throwing it up.
Pop it up. Pop it up. So let me just finish answering that question. No, I mean, you don't really watch the way that you used to or the way that you'll watch your team. What my biggest problem is, and I juggle this with the Yankees and the Mets, right? I want to watch the Yankees first and foremost. I want to watch the Mets for my job. Plus, I love baseball, But like when the Yanks are on Amazon and the Mets are on SNY or vice versa, and then you get Prime, you got Netflix opening day, which no disrespect to Netflix, it's un-American that you've got opening day that's not on available for some of the older generation. I'll find it, I'll watch it. If my mom is not home, my dad ain't finding it, my dad ain't watching it. I can promise you that. So I always stand up for the older people who don't know how to look at that thing. Yeah. Now, it wasn't that big, to be fair. Jeez.
Sure.
It was, oh, God almighty. I mean, that's a big one. But that is what I hold in. And my buddy Dan, who came in to spend the weekend, I think Jen went back to Dallas. We had a boys' weekend, man. You want to talk about? We went to a Cal football game at AT&T Stadium against Utah. So we're tailgating, we're hanging out. There was great bars across the street. We went fishing one day. We played golf. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. But it's an additional problem because now the Thursday night football game's on cable. And, you got to – and I know it's not a big deal, and I know how to do it, finally, because my son was doing it for the first year. I can toggle back and forth between Prime and between Yes, but it's a pain in the ass. And I really find myself not doing it unless I've got some fantasy elements, and my fantasy team usually stinks in football. I don't bet the way that I used to. So I'm like, all right, I mean, unless it's a massive game of consequence, am I going to really go out of my way during September and October to go and watch, a game on Prime between the Titans and the Jaguars, or am I going to watch the Yankees or the Mets? I'm going to watch baseball. All right. What are we doing? BT Fishing Charters. CLR 8810. Let's get the BT and Sal Celebrity Golf Tournament off the ground first.
Then we'll hit the boat.
I used to love doing this, and like it wouldn't be a lot, but when I would get up, because again, no kids when we're in San Francisco. So I'd get up at like 5 o'clock and I found a captain, like this Irish immigrant. When I moved there, I remember walking along the Embarcadero because I'm from Sheepshead Bay and there's boats everywhere. That's in Brooklyn by Kingsborough, if you guys know the area. Fishing charters, bluefish, fluke, flounder, weak fish, stuff like that. And you get a lot of sea robins, whatever. And it's overfished at this point. But that's what I did growing up. And I would love to wake up. And first I had to find a boat. So I remember when I'm walking in the wharf and I meet, it's like, you reminded me of the captain in Jaws. Remember the brogue that he spoke with? Yeah. If you remember that, right? Forgetting the actor's name. I know he died recently, or somewhat recently. Rest in peace. Great actor. Added to it. His brogue, his dialect added to it. Anyway, I see this guy and he's got very small boat. They fit 3-4 people, not like one of these monstrosity, massive fishing charters. Hey, how much to go fish? And I just moved here, blah, blah, blah. Give me 100 cash. I'll take you out. Done. So my parents were there for the weekend. And then I eventually went out with him for a couple times. And I would get up early and I wouldn't put much in because I was obviously driving and I wouldn't drink it until I got there. I would make a little Irish coffee, make a massive cup of coffee, just toss a little Bailey's in there.
Yes,
and you've got the fog that's hitting the bay. Go drop a line, catch all the things I just mentioned. Absolutely awesome. All right, I got to read this because I do have to wrap up the show early today because I've got to get out to Verizon. So, Pete Carroll, and we talked a lot about Geno Smith on the show yesterday, right? Well, Pete Carroll was dropping some intel on the new Jets quarterback, and here's what Pete had to say. He's a phenomenal quarterback. He really is. He had a fantastic offseason and preseason with us, and he comes out in the first game. He's got a great game. It was all fitting. It was exactly the right time for us. Then we just faltered. We didn't do well enough. Coaching. We should have had him better prepared for the things that happened, and that wouldn't have happened, he continued. I take a lot of responsibility in that. We didn't prepare him well enough at the offseason, even though he looked good and we felt we had everything lined up. It was a very, very disappointing, year for us both. And then there's one more that I want to read there. I think there's another quote board. There you go. We got killed. We absolutely got killed, Caroll said. Our offensive guys up front, their line was terrible. 32nd out of 32 in the NFL. O-line stunk. Last couple of years, we got murdered. We needed to upgrade that more than we did. It didn't happen in the draft. It didn't happen in the offseason. We didn't go for it in the offseason. We needed to have to buy a new line, give the guys a chance to at least be more competitive. The only reason you get sacked that much is because you try to throw it too much. The whole thing didn't quite work out, and that's why you saw the things change and all that stuff. End quote, Pete Carroll, former coach, Seattle, the Jets before that, the Patriots, obviously coaching in college as well. all that stuff. So I think that doesn't mean that Pete's going to be right. And I don't think that Geno's phenomenal. Maybe he's laying it on a little thick there, but I think he's talking about him as a person, the character that he brought to the building. And if you missed yesterday's show, I'm not going to get back into it. Just go find it. It's on the channel here. I think it was about as good a pickup as you could have. I mean, yeah, all right. It doesn't seem like they'll get Carson Wentz. It looks like those reports are changing now. I know a few people had that. But if it was Carson Wentz, would you feel good about that? Like you could, because it's subjective, feel slightly better than you do about Geno, but you wouldn't feel good. I mean, because Carson Wentz hasn't played a lot of football in a while, and he hasn't played a lot of high-level football even longer. So it's not like they whiffed on Carson Wentz, who would have been some game-changing quarterback. All right, you want Malik Willis? I was interested. A lot of money. Did you really want Tua, throwing 78-mile-per-hour fastballs into the wind at MetLife? Did you really want that? I didn't want Tua. And with the concussion history, very injury prone, small, no, I'm not interested. So to me, just to button up the take from Geno yesterday, but I did wanted to read that stuff from Pete Caroll. Like the more that you look at this and you look at it objectively and you strip away emotion and you just say, all right, number one, where are the Jets at this point in their rebuild? Number two, who is truly available? And number three, what's the purpose of bringing in somebody like Geno? Well, number one, where are they? They're, step one. They've revamped the whole defense. They're trying to change the culture. So they're just starting out with that. Who else was available? I gave you the options. There was a dearth of options. There weren't many, all right? They settled on Geno. And then where do you go from here? Well, where you go from here is hopefully just raise the floor enough where now the culture slowly starts to change. That's why you're bringing guys like Demario Davis. You're not bringing these guys in to win a Super Bowl. What you're doing is you're bringing in these kind of personalities and these kind of diligent pros. And Demario Davis, by all accounts, is one of the absolute best human. I know he's 37, which is a weird number for a linebacker. It's one thing if you're a left tackle or guard or center, but I know 37 is old for a linebacker. He can still play a little bit, can still tackle. Not the same in coverage, obviously, but he's going to bring a level of accountability and professionalism to the meeting room, to the practice field. He'll help espouse Aaron Glenn's, message player to player, which a lot of times is more effective than coach to player because it's a peer, and it's a different level of engagement. If you got a guy who's been in the NFL for 15 years, barking at you saying, hey, we got to be here. What are you doing? It's a little different than, Aaron Glenn shining a light on a board. Hey, you missed the gap here. Where's the gap integrity? Whatever football verbiage you want to use. So that's where I stand on the Geno stuff. I said most of it yesterday. The more I thought about it, nothing changed. I like it. I think he's a lot better than many of you think. I think some of you, and that's fine. I'm not going to fight City Hall with this. I think some of you interpreted what I said as me believing that he's going to elevate the Jets to some crazy level. No, he's not. But if they draft a Ty Simpson, if they draft somebody, kid from LSU, whomever it might be, right? Penn State, Aller. If you get one of those kids in the second round, third round, maybe even the fourth round, and you get him in a quarterback room with Geno, don't you think it's a little, and maybe Tyrod Taylor is the backup, don't you think it's a little bit better than having him in the room with Brady Cook and them kind of look at each other like, I don't know, what do we do? So there's value there, all right? It might not translate into the win total. Matter of fact, it probably won't, that you guys are obviously desperately after, but that's how I feel about that. One more thing. What time we got here, Jay? It's 11 yet? Yeah. So the other thing real fast is that, this was interesting. So I'm not going to get into the mechanics of the Knicks game. I mean, they did give up 41 in the first quarter, which I tweeted about and was ridiculous, but they did win the game. So no need to shade them too much. They won. What I find interesting, who played great last night for the Knicks, right? It's Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson came in, scored 27 points in 26 minutes, and he's basically been out of the rotation for the last 7 or 8 weeks. Now, you might sit there and say, wow, that was a good move by Mike Brown. He had some faith in Jordan Clarkson. You had to dust him off. You threw him into a game where the Knicks had no energy, and he helped catapult them to a win that maybe they wouldn't have gotten if Mike Brown didn't make that move and put Clarkson in for the first time in a while in terms of healthy minutes, right? Well, the problem is it wasn't Mike Brown. It wasn't his recommendation. It was assistant coach Mo Cheeks. And Mike Brown even said that in the post game. He's like, credit to Mo. Hey, Mike, I'm not about, I don't believe in taking the credit for somebody else's success. I think the exact opposite, but that's not a good look for you because we're already kind of fed up with some of your nonsense. You're too passive. You have only one tech this year. You lose too many games you shouldn't. You get punked by Detroit. You're hugging Draymond Green after you lose. You're hugging Bickerstaff after you get your ass kicked with Detroit. Like, Mike Brown has not been very good. And if Mike Brown doesn't get it together, Mike Brown's gone after 1 year. Fact. It's just going to happen. And rightfully so, because we all know where the bar is supposed to be for the Knicks this year. So they win last night. The guy who was instrumental in the win wasn't even like directly connected to something that the head coach did. It's just, it's wacky. My God. All right, J-Rod. Guys, I hate to cut this short, but I told you I had to. Big day over at Verizon. Can't wait to hook up with them. Love them. Any questions, any texts, any comments, get it up in the chats there. Get the likes up, all right? Yes. Spread it out. Yesterday, the shorts were phenomenal. J-Rod did a really good job. The percentage of views, the shares, not that you guys really need to know this, but they were really, really strong. So I think we're starting to take a little bit more root here. As the algorithm figures things out, that Unleashed is here every day at 10, that Unleashed is pumping out 3, 4 or 5 shorts a day, that we've got some other individual content. If you missed my chat with Rick Pitino, go for it. It's up there. If you missed my content from last week, my all-time Big East team, 5 starters, 7 reserves, honorable mention, head coach for that team as well. That is up there. My all-time Yankee and Met lineup, post-1980, 2 separate videos. That is up there. The LaGreca spot is up there. And, hey, we made some national news with Donnie, too. We made it with Kay with the politics, and we made it with Donnie when Donnie was like, yeah, I should have threatened to walk when my name wasn't on the show. So we got some nice national traction with that, which is great. I told you about Gary V. I was texting with him the other day. We're going to get him on soon. Texted with Stephen A., and we left it where he said, hey, hit me up on Sunday. I want to make sure he had a little medical procedure on a dental. Want to make sure he's good to go. If he is, and I hope he is, this show aside, there's a great chance. As a matter of fact, I would say we'll have him on early next week. I was texting with A-Rod yesterday. Alex is coming on the show. He said he wants to do it in alignment with the WBC coverage for Fox as we get deeper out of pool play, which we are now. I mean, thank God the United States made it. The Rosa would have been roasted, man. Team Italy. Oh, how about Pasquantino? 3 bombs. First time that's ever happened in the WBC. Good for Italy. Oh, what do we got here? Got to help out America. All right. I'm bouncing. J-Rod, give me a salute, buddy. BT Unleashed Fashion. Let's go. Salute it up. Let's go. What do you got there? No, salute it up, buddy. I want you to salute. The J-Rod disappeared. There he is. You all right there, Jay? What's going on? Something happened to Jay. It's all good.
I'm glitching out right now.
You're glitching out now. All right. It's better than crashing out. There you go. Hey, better late than never. So, we appreciate you guys. BT Unleashed every day at 10. Follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I even have a TikTok account. Haven't really used it that much, but there's probably 8 or 9 videos up there. If you missed it, I'll be a little bit more busy with that. I've got the Johnnies tomorrow, provided that they win. They're coming up at noon against Providence, 5.5-point favorites. The whole Bryce Hopkins thing with that foul up in Rhode Island about a month or so ago, a little scrap on the court. Could get a little chippy. We'll see. Big East underway, tournaments underway, Selection Sunday coming up. All good stuff. So have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 10 right here on Unleashed. Peace.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney.